What is freedom of speech worth? Now, in the case of Uzuegbunam versus Preczewski, the Supreme Court is not only considering the ability of public universities to regulate speech on their campuses, but the value of that speech as well. So we'll ponder this next on the Constitution Study.
One thing you have to know wherever you make your stand came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study, where we read and study the Constitution. We teach the rising generation to be free. We are all about understanding our rights, not only recognizing when they're being violated, but understanding how to assert and defend them. And I hope you're interested in that as well. If you are, head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. So you'll find everything I'm working on. You can take this video or others like it. You can use it. You can share it. It's absolutely free. In fact, maybe you'll just sign up. Maybe you'll click the link and get a free copy of my book, Read the Constitution in 30 Days. Maybe you'll sign up for the newsletter, which will also get you a free copy of the book. You can even check the box, and I will deliver these to your email as soon as they are published. We don't have to worry about big tech getting in the way. We don't have to worry about YouTube and Twitter banning me the way Facebook has. You also may want to check out Constitution Scholars. That's the community of other scholars, people who are interested in reading and studying the Constitution. Please, if you do join, I do ask you to do a couple things. Please put your picture up there. It's really nice to see people's faces, and I love some of the pictures that have been up there. But also join your state group. Whatever state you're a citizen of, join that group and join the conversation about what's going on in that state. I'm liking the increase in traffic, and I'm hoping to see more. Again, that's constitutionscholars.com. With that, let's talk about this case of free speech on campus. So this has been an interesting case. Recently, it came up for oral arguments. Some background. Mr. Uzuegbunam is a student, or was a student at this college, Gwinnett College, and he wanted to express himself. He wanted the opportunity to talk to people about his love for Jesus Christ. Now, the school had set up rules. See, apparently free speech was only allowed in certain locations at certain times by appointment only. And Mr. Uzuegbunam actually complied with those requirements. He registered, he got his permit, he got his time slot, and he went and he spoke, and then campus security shut him down because apparently talking about your religion is disturbing the peace. So Mr. Uzuegbunam sued. He sued the college for their deprivation of his right to freedom of speech. Now, I'm not going to talk about the whole First Amendment issue and state versus federal and all that. What I find most interesting about this case and the oral arguments that were heard is what Uzuegbunam is asking for damages. Should he win this case, Mr. Uzuegbunam could be entitled to not only payment for his legal fees, his lawyer and court fees and all that, but what are called punitive damages, punishing the school for their mistreatment. But he's asking for what are called nominal damages, meaning he's not asking them to shell out a boatload of money because they deprived him of his freedom of speech. I believe he's only asking for $1. So the discussion, the debate in the oral arguments that I read talked mostly about, well, if you're only suing for $1, why should we bother? And this is what got my attention, because it makes me ask a couple questions. One is, how do you put a monetary value on your ability to speak freely, to express yourself? Sure, what the college did, and it's a state-run school in the state of Georgia, what they did violated the Georgia Constitution. They denied Mr. Uzuegbunam not only of his freedom of speech and freedom to express his religion, but they deprived him of his liberty without due process of law. But the question is, Mr. Uzuegbunam, who has since graduated, he is no longer a student there, how do you put a monetary damage? As his lawyer put it, he will never get that opportunity again. You cannot go back in time and restore his freedom of speech at that event. But what is that worth? Sure, many people would have come up with a large sum. I mean, you could fund a whole nother degree with what he could get from the college. He may have a whole nother career with what he could have done that. But he didn't. All he's asking for is proof that he is right, that the school was wrong, and that there be precedent so that other students wouldn't have to go through this ever again. And he wants $1 to prove that. He didn't want a payday. He didn't want a paycheck. What he wanted was proof that he was right, that the school was wrong, that the school had denied him his rights. And he wanted the precedent so that other students, both at Gwinnett College and at others, could say, wait a second, look at the case of Uzuegbunam. You can't do that. You are not allowed to regulate free speech on a public campus. That's public versus private. It's an important point, but we're focusing on a public campus. You cannot regulate free speech on a public campus. What bothered me is what I've read so far in the oral argument transcript is if you're only asking for $1, why should we bother? Do we only value our rights in dollars and cents? If I can't show you a monetary pain, a monetary loss, does that mean I don't have a right for a redress of a grievance? To go to the government, petition them to say, I was wronged, make me whole, even if that whole is only $1 and the proof that I was right? Has the Supreme Court taken that name so much to the head that say, they even ask whether or not they should bother with a freedom of speech case because, well, the plaintiff is only asking for $1. See, it's not that our rights are worth only $1. It's that you can't put a monetary value on your right to speak, on your right to practice your religion, on your right to publish, on your right to live at liberty without government interference, to not be deprived of your property without due process of law. You cannot put a monetary damage on those rights. Now, there may be monetary damages from the implementation of that. In other words, if your business was shut down illegally, you lost money. There's monetary damages. But your right is not a monetary thing. See, I don't know Mr. Uzuegbunam. I haven't followed him that closely. I have been following this case because this seems to be an argument of what is right. Not what can I get for it. This is what is right. Mr. Uzuegbunam has petitioned his government for a redress of grievance, and the government seems to be arguing over whether or not it's worth it because he hasn't put a monetary value on it. And again, how much is worth getting redress for? Think of it this way. I've heard for years, for decades, that while there is fraud in elections, there's not enough to overturn. It's not significant enough. Well, let me ask you, how many people have to lose their right to vote, have their right to vote stolen before it's worth it? It's a very utilitarian attitude that says, we'll only protect your right if you put $1 value to it. And we'll only protect your right if, well, we think there was enough to actually have some monetary damage or some political damage. What happened to the idea of protecting our rights? Each and every one of the justices on that court swore or affirmed an oath to support the Constitution of the United States. That is their job, to offer opinions in cases relating to the laws of the United States and the Constitution of the United States. And to cheapen it by focusing on the monetary value that the plaintiff is asking for cheapens the court. It cheapens the proceedings. It cheapens all of us because now we're saying your rights really only mean something if you can put $1 value on what was lost. And I don't like that. I don't like the idea that my freedom of speech is only valuable if I can put $1 sign in front of it, or my freedom of expression, or my right to be secure in my persons, houses, papers, and effect. to be secure against unreasonable searches and seizures, to be secure that I can go to court, that if I'm accused, I can confront my accuser, if I can have the assistance of counsel, if I can only do that if I can show a monetary value. We've all lost something. Now, the court has not opined in this case yet, and I will probably cover it when it does come out. But when I was reading the transcript of this oral argument, it really hit me how the bigger issue of, does a public school have the right to regulate speech on a public campus, has been set aside, at least for the moment, while the lawyers and the justices are arguing over dollar values, over how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. Does it really matter how much money Mr. Uzuegbunam wants in exchange for his loss, more than the fact that we have what appears to be a public school infringing on one of the most basic rights as an American citizen or even just a human being? So think about that. Ponder that as well. Ask yourself, what is more important? What is the grievance that really needs redress? Is it the fact that Mr. Uzuegbunam was denied his right of freedom of speech and to freely exercise his religion? Or was it the fact that when he filed the paperwork, he didn't ask for a payday? He looked only for the rightness of his cause. Think about that. Think about that the next time you see a suit, and ask yourself, is the person looking for true damages, or are they looking for a payday? So please, head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. Let's find out more. Follow this case. I'm sure I will cover it once the court offers its opinion. But find out other areas where our rights are being violated. You know, like John Jay said, by knowing our rights, we'll sooner perceive when they are violated. Be like Mr. Uzuegbunam. Recognize when your rights are violated, and then be prepared to defend and assert them, and to do so properly. Join the conversation at constitutionscholars.com. Become part of the solution. Engage rather than sitting back and expecting someone else to do it for you. And come back here next time, and we'll discuss whatever else is worth pondering right here on the Constitution Study.
One thing you have to